My wife looked me straight in the eyes and said something I never thought I would hear from the woman I had spent years building a family with. She said, "Do not call me any more loser. You are nothing but dead weight to this family now." I did not argue. I did not beg. I did not threaten her. I simply stopped calling. But while she thought I had finally accepted defeat, I quietly made one phone call that changed everything. I called my lawyer. A few days later, she tried to access our joint account. That was when she discovered something she never expected. The account was already frozen, and suddenly the man she called a loser was no longer playing by her rules. For years I believed that marriage was supposed to be a partnership. When my wife and I first got together, we did not have much. We rented a small house, shared one old car, and counted every dollar before spending it. We talked about our future late at night and promised each other that no matter how difficult life became, we would face it together. I believed those promises. I worked long hours. I accepted extra shifts whenever they were available. There were years when I came home exhausted but still helped with the bills, repairs, and everything else the family needed. I was not rich, but I believed I was doing my part. Then something changed. My wife started treating everything I did as if it was never enough. At first, I thought she was simply stressed. I tried to understand her. When she became distant, I gave her space. When she became angry, I stayed quiet. When she criticized my income, I reminded myself that difficult periods happen in every marriage. But the criticism became constant. She started comparing me with other people. She talked about friends whose husbands had better jobs, bigger houses, and newer cars. Every conversation seemed to become another reminder that I was falling behind. I asked her what she wanted me to change. She would simply say that I should figure it out. Then one evening, everything exploded. We had been arguing about money. I tried to explain that I was doing everything I could. She looked at me with a level of anger I had never seen before and said the words that would stay in my mind for a very long time. "Do not call me any more loser. You are just dead weight to this family now." I stood there completely silent. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to remind her of everything I had sacrificed. I wanted to ask how the person who once promised to stand beside me could now speak to me like I was an enemy. But I said nothing. That night I made a decision. I stopped calling her. I stopped sending emotional messages. I stopped explaining myself. And most importantly, I stopped making decisions based on anger. The next morning I contacted a lawyer. I did not tell my wife immediately. I simply explained the situation and asked what I needed to do to protect myself financially and legally. That decision was important because financial matters during separation can become complicated very quickly. The American Bar Association advises people preparing for divorce to understand their assets, liabilities, bank accounts, and expenses, and to consider securing access to financial information and accounts. American Bar Association. My lawyer told me something I already suspected. Emotions could not be allowed to control financial decisions, so I gathered records, bank statements, bills, tax documents, mortgage information, loan documents, insurance records, anything connected to our household finances. I was not trying to punish my wife. I was trying to understand exactly where we stood. Then came the moment I will never forget. My wife tried to access our joint account. She expected everything to work exactly as it always had. But something had changed. The account was already restricted. She called the bank. The bank could not simply give her the answer she wanted. And that was when she realized that I had quietly taken legal steps. Now, this part of the story reflects a real financial issue that varies by bank and state law. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau explains that removing a spouse from a joint checking account generally requires the spouse's consent, although the exact rules can depend on state law and the financial institution. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. A joint account can also give account holders significant access to transactions and funds. The CFPB explains that generally everyone whose name is on a joint account can write checks, withdraw money, make transactions, or close the account. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That is why I had not acted recklessly. I did not empty the account. I did not secretly transfer everything into another account. I did not try to hide assets. I followed legal advice. And that difference became extremely important. My wife called me later. Her voice was completely different. The confidence was gone. She asked me why the account had been restricted. I told her that I had stopped fighting with her and started protecting myself. She accused me of trying to hurt her. I reminded her that she had been the one who told me I was dead weight. For the first time, I did not try to convince her that I was a good husband. I did not need to. The documents could speak for themselves. My lawyer then explained that separation and divorce are not simply emotional events. They involve property, debt, financial accounts, and legal responsibilities. The American Bar Association recommends separating joint financial access appropriately and monitoring old accounts so that unexpected activity does not create new problems. American Bar Association. That was when I understood something. Sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is preparation. For months I had been trying to save a relationship that the other person had already decided to abandon. I thought being patient would make things better. Instead, my patience had allowed me to ignore the warning signs. The moment my wife called me a loser, something inside me finally changed. I stopped asking how to make her happy. I started asking how to make sure I did not destroy my own future trying to keep someone else comfortable. Eventually, we began the legal process. There were difficult conversations. There were documents. There were disagreements about money and property. There were moments when I wanted to react emotionally, but every time I felt angry, I remembered the same sentence. Do not call me anymore, loser. Those words had once made me feel worthless. Now they reminded me why I needed to stay calm. I learned that protecting yourself does not always mean fighting back. Sometimes it means documenting everything. Sometimes it means getting professional advice. Sometimes it means creating financial boundaries. And sometimes it means walking away from an argument before you say something that can never be taken back. My wife once believed that calling me dead weight would make me feel powerless. Instead, it became the moment I finally started rebuilding my life. And the biggest lesson was not about money. It was about self-respect. I had spent years believing that keeping a marriage together meant accepting everything. I finally understood that a healthy relationship cannot survive on humiliation, fear, and one-sided sacrifice. If someone constantly tells you that you are worthless, eventually you have to decide whether you believe them or whether you believe the evidence of your own life. I chose the second option. I looked at the years I had worked, the bills I had paid, the responsibilities I had carried, the sacrifices I had made, and I realized that being rejected by one person does not make you a failure. Sometimes losing the relationship you were desperately trying to save is the beginning of finding yourself again. The woman who once called me a loser expected me to beg her for another chance. Instead, I quietly contacted my lawyer, protected my financial interests through proper legal channels, and stopped allowing insults to control my decisions. When she finally realized that our joint account was restricted, she understood that the man she thought was powerless had already started taking control of his future. I did not win because I destroyed her. I won because I stopped destroying myself. And sometimes the strongest response to disrespect is not revenge. It is rebuilding your life so completely that the insult no longer has power over you.